Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our special council meeting for Wednesday, December 11th, 2024. And this is a special council meeting with regards to our borrowing bylaw. So I'll read the motion for those that maybe wish to move and second this motion, that council approve bylaw 2024-119 being a bylaw for the corporation of the municipality of Grey Highlands to authorize the borrowing upon serial debentures in the principal amount of $4,016,151, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign, notwithstanding any contrary provisions of council. Now, the copy of the bylaw is there for everyone to look at. So would somebody care to move that? Councillor Allwood?
I'll move that as written.
Okay, and Councillor Dubik is seconding that motion. And again, this is regards to the carryover from last year's or this year's projects, and that was the amount that we need to debenture. Discussion, comments with regards to that motion that's on the floor with regards to the bylaw for borrowing. I don't know, Anna, if you have anything you wish to share or anything other than it's pretty straightforward, but do you have anything to share?
Thank you, through you. So the final rate that was set was 3.76% over 10 years. And this is to fund a significant high value number of projects that do span several budget years. So after this, we only have one other outstanding project to be debenture financed.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions to the treasurer on that? Go ahead, Councillor Allen.
Thank you. 10 years, is that our only option? And then also the interest rate, is that a rate that is fixed for, I know it's fixed for the full 10 years, but is that rate, is that the rate that it's going to be for the next little while? Because they are saying today that the rates will drop.
We'll know by the end of the sunset, but yes. So go ahead, Madam Treasurer.
Thank you, through you. The rate would be set for 10 years, no change within that 10 years. It always comes down to, I guess, a bit of luck when it comes down to when the rate will be set with Infrastructure Ontario. So going through Infrastructure Ontario, we do receive the advantage of lower rates. But then there is, I guess, the flip side is that we are locked in for those 10 years. And once the rate is set, it's set. Regarding the term, there are certainly more options to go longer than the 10 years. However, that isn't an option today. It would be too late at this point to change course with this debenture bylaw without sort of restarting our application anew.
Good. Follow up, Councillor Allen.
So, but the rate itself, it says fully registered 3.76%. I'm assuming that's the interest rate we'll be paying for 10 years. Is that, if rates go down today, will this rate be affected, and will that change even though we've signed off on this?
The rate, it will be set at 3.76% regardless of what happens.
Okay, so then my next question is, why the rush? Why do we have to do it today?
Madam Treasurer.
We don't have to do it today. There are penalties that will be applied. I'm not sure what they would be if we don't proceed with this application. We could wait and see, but again, it would be very hard to predict, I guess, when the right time will be to lock in. And it's not like we can have a quick turnaround. So Mayor McQueen and I received the rate confirmation, I believe it was last Monday. This was the absolute soonest we could schedule the debenture bylaw to come before council. And then the funds won't be received for some time still. So it's not a quick turnaround process that we can react quickly if the rate changes to something is more favorable to us.
Sorry to keep on, but before we leave today, we'll probably know what the rates have done. And if they drop 0.5%, that's a lot of money on $4 million. So I'm just a little leery about approving this if by the end of the day rates have dropped, and I don't know how quick the government, the Infrastructure Ontario reacts to changes. But if they react quickly and we can get half a percentage lower for 10 years, that's a lot of money. Thank you.
Sure is. Madam CEO, do you have anything to add, or I saw the wheels running there, so.
Thank you, Mayor McQueen, and good morning, council. So the rate that's being quoted right now is well below the prime rate with the Bank of Canada. Generally, what happens is because this is a fixed rate for 10 years, there's a forecast on, you know, what that interest may look like rolling out over 10 years. So it's basically an average of predictions over the next 10 years. So if we wait past today, that does not necessarily mean that the rate will go down 0.5%. It will have been factored in when that forecast took place to establish what that rate might look like over the 10 years.
Yeah, I did hear the business this morning that this 0.5% has been built into the market for a while. And but I know that's a conflict on whether it's going to be 0.5 or 0.25, but they are talking about a rate adjustment for the day. So the option is carry on with this, or the option is delaying, but delaying could cost us a penalty. Is that what you're saying, Anna? That do we know what that penalty would be?
How the penalty is calculated.
Right. So, yeah, you're right. You did send me a document last week for us to have, and there's a certain window opportunity to sort of, and so I think it's gone down 0.10 since that discussion. I think it was 0.86 last week, and now it's 0.76. So maybe that's part of that building in of that adjustment already as we get closer to that. The other, you know, the other part is if it did go down, we'd have to call a special meeting in order to address that again. So, which, you know, there is some time in. Well, I guess we have council next week, Wednesday, right? Yep, the 18th. So it is sort of a unique scenario for sure. Councillor Allen, do you have anything you wish to add to that? I know when you're talking big dollars, a little bit of percentage does make a difference for sure. Other discussion, comments, questions? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor McQueen. Just to staff for clarity, do we know the deadline to when this bylaw has to be passed in order to not receive any penalties? Is today that deadline? I know I'm assuming it's before the end of this year, and we are running out of days in the year. But I'm wondering if you can just share if there's like a specific deadline.
Treasurer?
Thank you. Today would be the deadline. Monday is the last day that Infrastructure Ontario releases funds for the year. So if this wasn't approved today, then we would be waiting until the new year and starting this phase, I guess, new.
Okay. Other comments? The finance liaison, do you have any comments?
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. No, I mean, I'm aware of the deadline, and the Monday is that deadline. So I was prepared to support the bylaw as written. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Lowhead. Sorry, is he over there? Good morning. Nice background.
Thank you. Morning, Mr. Mayor. Morning, council and staff. So yeah, this idea of a rate drop being applied to this debenture is news to me. And but you know, as Councillor Allen mentioned, that's a lot of money. And now it's got me wondering if we could do that calculation, what 0.5% on 4 million-ish over 10 years would look like. I think that having a number in mind versus penalties. I know that's a lot to ask of our our staff at the moment, but certainly I think it's important information in this consideration.
So your request is to take a few minutes to figure out what that could be. So then we'd have to
I think so. I mean, you know, yeah, I mean, we're talking about, well, I don't know exactly what we're talking about, but it's you know, it's got a lot of zeros, tell you that much.
Yeah, we'd have to take a recess for Madam Treasurer to take that time to do it. So is that okay? So I'm going to go to the Treasurer for a comment on that. Is that a possibility to sort of give a rough calculation? I would say maybe 0.25. I wouldn't say 0.5 would be on that, just because if some of it's built in. So, Madam Treasurer?
Through you, I can easily run the calculation if I know exactly what percentage you want me to run it at. I would be very leery of, I guess if council is really considering this, I want to reach out to Infrastructure Ontario to confirm what the penalty will be.
Right. Yeah, you need to know the information.
Yes.
And so before I take two other calls here, Councillor Loyhead, any follow-up to that?
No, just of course to our director, absolutely. I mean, I agree, you know, weighing the calculation of the savings versus the penalty, of course, is crucial. But I still, you know, I think that this council is probably curious as to what the potential savings at 0.25% might be.
Okay, so hold that thought then, and I'll go to Councillor Alwood and then Councillor Dubé.
Thank you, Mayor McQueen, for you. I mean, there may be some rate adjustment announced today by the bank, but there's no guarantee that that just falls directly down to the Infrastructure Ontario rate, which is the preferred rate for the municipalities. And as the CEO mentioned a little earlier, you know, they factor that in the long range forecasts into determining that interest rate. So I don't think that we can say whether it's 0.25 or 0.5% will affect the interest rate of this debenture by that type of amount. Again, yeah, thank you.
So I guess Councillor Loyhead is asking is to run the numbers to give council that information, if be, right? Councillor Dubé?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm not clear in terms of which numbers we would run because so there is a 0.5 drop anticipated today, but that doesn't translate into if our rate here is, sorry, it's like 3.76, it doesn't translate to a 3.76 minus 0.5. This 3.76 is a forecasted view over 10 years, right? And so over 10 years, the market is going to be anticipating ups and downs over 10 years. So, it's not a direct adjustment of a 0.5. I just want to make sure we're clear about that. And so I guess the question that I have is, would we know when Infrastructure Canada changes its rate? So if there's Bank of Canada rate change today, when would Infrastructure Canada sort of repost its rates?
So it's Infrastructure Ontario, but
Or Ontario,
yeah.
sorry. Yeah.
So I guess you should always look back to what happened in the past, how fast they reacted, I guess, be one way. But Madam Treasurer?
So they do update their rates on a daily basis. I'm not sure how long it would take for them to reflect, I guess, market conditions or changes that have been made.
My thoughts would be is there's two things that is going on today, just in the saying is we've been talking about 0.5, but if we drop 0.5, that's going to really nail or hammer our dollar. There's a balance there, whether they go 0.5 or 0.25. There's a lot of debate on that. A lot of it are saying 0.5 if you watch, but yeah, like I would say that if it dropped 0.5 today, just my opinion, you wouldn't see a reflection on Infrastructure Ontario. You maybe see some, but I don't know. But I'm just giving my opinion, right? Councillor Allen, do you have another question?
Just wondered if we could recess from council, move into committee of the whole, and go back into council after committee of the whole, we would have more information perhaps then, and can still make the decision today.
So I don't know how much time, Anna, you would need. How much time would you need? So, or can we recess? Can we recess council, go into our, well, the treasurer's going to be very busy doing budget, right? So, yeah. So any idea, Anna, how much time you would probably need? What time is, I guess their office is open now. Would they be available for information?
Yeah, I can try contacting them to confirm what the penalty would be.
Okay.
Yeah.
So two options,
say
either
for sure.
move into committee of the whole, but we're almost, to give our treasurer time, we almost need to take a break for our treasurer to do that work, right? So Councillor Allen, are you moving a motion and we move into committee of the whole? Okay. We can't move into committee of the whole from a council meeting? I thought we could.
Through you, Mayor McQueen, they're two separate meetings. They're not actually, it's not a committee of the whole that leads to a council meeting or vice versa. So we generally would have adjourned this meeting and then moved into committee of the whole. Because we are not doing that, my suggestion, and we have a motion on the floor that has been moved and seconded.
I don't understand. Under Robert rules, for a lot of times, you can always move into a committee of the whole of a council meeting, right?
Yes, if they're supposed to, like if that's the way it was
Yeah.
planned and they were
Well, sometimes. it
in
doesn't.
relation to one another. But they're, in this case, they're not. Well. So my suggestion would be that we defer this motion and that we recess this meeting. And then we will start the committee of the whole meeting. And we will, and when we can come back to this meeting when the committee of the whole is complete for today.
So we can go back into it later on today.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the options that were being provided. Madam CEO.
Thank you, Mayor McQueen, through you. The other option is to reconvene either Thursday or Friday.
I know both
And
myself.
allow the treasurer some time. My concern is we're running numbers with arbitrary assumptions. There's no guarantee that the Infrastructure Ontario rate is going to be reflected by any reduction in the prime rate. The prime rate right now is at 5.95. This rate that Infrastructure Ontario is proposing is considerably less than prime. But I caution council trying to squeeze this analysis into a very short period of time when the treasurer is, in the hot seat for most of today, let's say, with the budget. So another consideration council could have is to recess, and perhaps even, I guess it would have to be Friday. Okay, no,
So
I'm
both,
being told no, sorry.
both myself and the deputy mayor have county council tomorrow. We have budget on Friday. If Monday's the last day, that could be an option for carrying on. I'm sort of thinking if it's 0.25 over 10 years, I think that is information that we could use. I think we should recess, try to get some initial information, and then come back and then decide from there. But so if we can recess and get some preliminary information and then come back here in 15 minutes, is that something that gives us a little bit of a? Sorry, I didn't see your hand up. Sorry, go ahead, Madam Treasurer.
Sorry, I guess I just need more direction on what preliminary means, exactly what percent you want me to run the numbers at. I've reached out to Infrastructure Ontario to confirm what the penalty would be, but I don't want to make any predictions regarding what the rate will do.
No, but I mean, if you did, I guess in my mind, if it did go down 0.25 over 10 years, what's that look like? I think that's what Councillor Lohan was asking, was what that number would look like. And he's shaking his head. So I think that is a request. I could go to Councillor Lohan to get clarity. Councillor Lohan?
Thank you, Mayor McQueen. I mean, yeah, I would like to have that number 0.25% over the 10 years, just to give us a ballpark. I mean, it's I think it's worth a 15-minute recess and consideration if it's a possibility. It's a lot of zeros.
Right. Okay. So Madam Treasurer?
So the amortization schedule is available online and very easy to run. I can do that for you right now. Just can you please give me the number you're looking at, not the change. I want the hard number that you'd like me to input into the calculator.
Councillor Lohan, I think you suggested a reduction of 0.25 from the current rate. Is that what you're asking for? Over 10 years? Okay. So is that clear now? Clear? Yeah.
What's the number?
Yeah. So just before, I got a couple more questions before we take Deputy Mayor and then Councillor Dubé.
For clarity, this isn't the council's ability to negotiate with Infrastructure Ontario. This is us making a guess that we are going to risk a penalty and still may have no decrease. So then we've just penalized ourselves for an arbitrary hope that there's gonna be a rate change. There is that, like, it is. The bylaw is here, everything is here because we have waited as long as we could to get the best rate we could this year. It would make the most logical sense to pass today, because if we don't see a response from from Infrastructure Ontario in 2 days, which wouldn't be surprising, we are waiting until the new year to do this. And we're trying to cram in at even a further last second notice to try to get this accomplished. And I'm sure there's still paperwork on staff side that needs to actually submit this into the Infrastructure Ontario. It's not like we can do this Monday at 4:30 because that's when we get the notice and the deadline is Monday at 5 o'clock. Like, there's things that we need to consider more than just, we're gonna arbitrarily guess at what we hope the discount will be. We're gonna arbitrarily hope that this happens before we get a penalty. Like, there's a lot of arbitrary guesses and assumptions being made here on something that that takes a lot of time and effort to put into it.
Or it could be $250,000 over 10 years. Like, I mean, these are things we don't know, right? Council,
No, this.
Straight interest over 10 years is $200,000 at a 0.5. That's straight interest. So that's just a quick calculation.
Councilor Dubik, and then I get the treasurer. I know Councilor Dubik wants to talk here, so.
Yeah, thank you. So I think we need to know two things. So one, what is the penalty? Two, when does Infrastructure Ontario, change its schedule? And when would we know that? Making some sort of arbitrary calculation at this point in time, I think it would be lovely if council could set its own interest rate, but we can't,
Mhm.
right? So that's not our job. We are interest rate takers based on what is given to us. So, and so just doing arbitrary calculations at this time doesn't provide me with any additional information or confidence in terms of making a decision.
Okay.
What does give me information is, just what is the penalty and when would infrastructure repost new rates, given the fact that rates are dropping today? So those are two pieces.
I think the treasurer said that it changes every day, or it could change every day. Madam Treasurer?
Dated every day. So the impact to interest by changing the rate to 3.5% would be $52,000 less interest. Infrastructure Ontario has indicated that there will be a penalty determined by their treasury team based on the amount of the total debentures. So it will be applied to the 4 million.
So the difference, would we get penalized on the difference? Is that what we?
I assume it's on the full 4 million.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go back to Councilor Lowhead. So Councilor Lowhead, you requested that information. So around $52,000 would be the reduction, but we don't know what the penalty is. I think that's what's being said.
Yeah, I mean, as Councillor Dubik just said, of course, that has to be weighed against the a penalty, and the likelihood that would be real savings, $52,000. I mean, I guess the reason I'm following up on this is because if it is a possibility that we are able to recess and get this done at the end of the day with new information and save that $52,000 of taxpayer dollars, that's time well spent. But if we think it's too arbitrary and unlikely, then let this go and pass the bylaw.
Well, your question is, or your thoughts are, is recess it till after our budget process and see what happens? Is that what is that a problem? As long as we do it today, is that a problem? Madam Treasurer?
So the physical debenture documents need to be received by our lawyers. I was hoping for today, tomorrow at the latest, so they would need to be couriered out today. I don't know what Infrastructure Ontario needs to do to consult with their treasury team to tell us what the penalty would be.
Right. And the thing is maybe they don't change the rates to the following day. If there is an adjustment, I don't know. Any follow-up, Councillor Lowhead? And then I'll go to Councillor Allen. Okay, Councillor Allen.
So if we change, if the interest rate does change and we ask Infrastructure Ontario to rewrite, does that initiate the penalty?
I suppose I'm not sure exactly what would initiate the penalty, but I assume it would be if we didn't proceed with closing of the debenture, which is scheduled for the 16th.
So maybe this is all for naught.
Do significant work on their end too to prepare the funds to be issued to it. So I would suggest that if council isn't happy with this procedure, that perhaps when we borrow next time, we consider alternative institutions, just because this whole process is very administratively burdensome for staff. It's been to council already multiple times too. So if you're looking to, I guess, monitor the market on I guess, be this specific, then maybe we'll consider alternate options next time.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor. If you wanted to recess, a motion would have to come to the floor to recess that to a period of time. So I read the motion out. You need it read again? Everybody understand the motion? You'll hear a motion to recess, so the motion is on the floor. There's no other discussion. All in favor of the motion? Opposed? It's carried unanimous. I would say that was good discussion, and that I know that we are in interesting times with how fast the interest rates went up. Now we're on a bit of a falling back because it's never the perfect opportunity or perfect formula to raising lower interest rates, but we've seen an interesting last 3.5 years where interest rates have been quite a roller coaster, from the all-time low interest rates to jumping up as fast as they did, and then falling back now because of changes with rate of inflation. Okay, so go ahead, Councillor or Deputy Mayor.
Motion to adjourn.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Nielsen. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Dubik. Any discussion? All in favor? Oh, did you have a comment?
Just that maybe make an announcement that we're going to start a committee of a whole, just for somebody that
Great.
decided to watch.
Yeah.
And now we're adjourning.
Yeah, yeah, that was a very short budget. So I will make that announcement if this passes. So we have it moved to second. All in favor of the adjournment? That is carried at 9:28. Just for those that are watching, we extended a little bit past our 15 minutes we allotted for our special council meeting. We will be starting our committee of the whole budget meeting. I'm going to say, how much time? Like at, what do we need? 9:40, Madam Clerk? Okay. We will be commencing